Welcome to the Under Construction Podcast with me, Martin Williams. Here we talk about how to build or rebuild your life one step at a time. Let's get to work. And welcome to the Under Construction Podcast. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You may do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. All the links to the podcast can be found at guidedexpressions.com/podcast with an S. Today, we are continuing our journey through the science of getting rich. We are now on day 10, and this is going to be a bit of a shift because up to now, we've been talking about mindset and talking about specifically the types of thoughts that you want to think if you are really serious about getting rich. And to review, getting rich is much bigger than in your bank account, even though that's important. It's also being rich in soul as well as in your mind, experiencing all that life has to offer to the extent that you can experience it in the days you have on this earth. So it's very important that we live to have our fullest expression on earth, right? And according to the author, it's very difficult for you to do that if you're not rich because, let's face it, if you're spending 50, 60 hours a week making ends meet, trying to pay the bills and doing all these things, it can be very difficult for you to experience all that life has to offer. It can be very difficult for you to travel and sample different types of cuisine and different locations and, different countries and all of these different things and, reading the books and taking in the art and listening to all the music. All these things take time. So, the science of getting rich is really about being rich on multiple levels. Again, not just in your bank account. So up to now, most of this review has been about theory, important theory nonetheless. But now we get to the action-producing part of this philosophy. There's a certain way to act in order to get rich. Waddell said that by thought, you can impel gold to you, right? Basically, you can position yourself that money comes knocking on your door, right? Thought can put you in the right position, but action makes it manifest. The money may knock at your door, but you have to take action to open it. Right? You got to open your door so the money can come in. Okay? So man must not only think, but personal action has to supplement the thoughts. Organize your business activity, whatever your business you're in, whether you're in business for yourself or working a job, so that when the abundance comes, you can handle it. Right? So organize your financial life. How many people listening right now, you don't keep track of how much you spend. You don't keep track of how much is going out in the form of expenses. You don't keep track of what comes in. Okay? So if you were to get $1 million, could you really handle it? And I would say probably not, because you're not exhibiting good organizational structure when it comes to your finances. Let's say that you're in business, right? Is your business set up to handle 1 million customers? For a lot of people, the answer is no, right? So if it isn't, stop wishing for more customers and start preparing for that greater amount of customers, because those customers have the money that you need and want, right? I'm in business for myself. And so those customers and clients that come to me have the money that I need in order to take care of myself, take care of my family in the way that I desire to do. So I've got to be able to handle that level of demand when it shows up. So what does it mean to act in a certain way? When things are brought to you, they're brought to you by your thought, okay? But they will be in the hands of other men, as Waddell writes. And these men, and when he says men, he's talking about people, men and women, right? They're going to ask for the equivalent of the money that they have. So if someone comes knocking on your door, and this could be virtually, this could be, I've personally, but also virtually, right? When someone comes to your website, they have money in their account. What are they going to exchange that money for? Because most people don't just give money for the sake of giving money. They give money in exchange for something. What are you going to give in exchange for that $20, right? What are you going to give in exchange for that $100, for that $1,000? Okay, you only get what's yours by giving to people what belongs to them. Now, this is a very, very interesting way of thinking about it, right? Giving people what belongs to them. You have to give people what belongs to them. This audio doesn't belong to me. When I release it, when I put it out into the world, it belongs to the people. It belongs to whoever looks for it. It belongs to whoever decides to listen to it. It belongs to them. Okay? When I put out a course, that course belongs to people, right? Now, when you think of it in that way, it completely changes the way that you look at producing it, as well as how you present it to the world, okay? If someone were to give you a bag of tools, right, and the tools were new, and said, hey, you can use it for whatever, maybe you got to put a bed together, maybe you got to put a dresser together, or what have you. Just give it back to me when you're done, right? So they let you hold the tools, right? And you do whatever you need to do, and then you give it back to that person. Are you going to give it back with a bunch of, food and, you're going to give it back to them dirty? No, you're going to give it back to them in the shape that you received it, if not better. At least you should, right? So in the same way, when people give you their time, when people give you their attention, you need to give their time and attention back to them, or give the equivalent of that time and attention back to them greater than what they gave to you. This is a great way of looking at it. And by doing that, how do I do that? I do that by doing my best. I do that by giving people as much as I possibly can, in exchange for that money, right? This is the way you act. This is the way you think. You don't get by and, stealing from people. You may get over a little bit, but in the long run, you're going to lose because you're violating spiritual law. Okay? Now, whatever you decide, you have to act now. You can't act in the past. The past is done. Okay? You may have made mistakes in the past. You may have messed it up in the past. You may have wasted time in the past. It doesn't matter now. The past is done. You can't act in the past anymore. You can't do what you should have did 2 weeks ago, but you can do it today, right? In the same way, you can't act in the future because the future's not here yet, right? And even if you find yourself not in the right business, let's say you're really a singer, right? That's your gift. That's your talent. But you're working at Walmart, or you're working in an office to pay the bills. You're working in, a job that has nothing to do with your gift, right? You don't wait to act to get, to act in a certain way. You don't wait until you get into the right business. You start acting in a certain way at Walmart. You start acting in a certain way at your office, right? And you put your whole mind into your present action. You got to get into the habit of acting a certain way. And the certain way, if I could sum it up, it's giving whoever's giving you money, giving more than what they're giving you, right? So if your job is giving you a salary, giving them more in value than what they're giving you. And if you do that, it'll get to the place where that job can no longer afford you and you're ready to move to bigger and better things, whether it's a better paying job or moving into your own business where the sky's the limit. So put your whole mind into present action is what Waddles continues to say. There's never any time but now. There will never be any other time than right now. You can only act where you are. So you don't worry about yesterday's work. Do today's work well. Don't try to act on people out of your reach. Don't try to make people do something they don't want to do. And we kind of talked about this a little bit before, right? we have to be very careful that we don't try to manipulate people. Okay? Don't wait on a change of environment. Act and your environment will change. Do things in a certain way and your environment will change. You don't have to worry about changing your environment. Your environment will change when you start acting in a certain way. It's likely that the things that you've been doing for a while, they will make you rich because you will learn to do them in a certain way. So what he says here is that, maybe you don't want to work in an office. Maybe you don't want to do administrative work, but it might make you rich if you do it in a certain way, right? If you do it in a certain way, you might elevate yourself to, a higher level. You may get promoted. You may be someone that gets hired by someone who's a multimillionaire and wants to pay you whatever, you feel you're worth, right? And you got rich in a certain way and you say, well, that's not really my gift, but if it makes you rich, okay? Being rich gives you options, gives you opportunities, right? So what I say to this is a lot of people want to do what they love to do, and that's fine. But if there's a certain thing that makes you rich, use it to your advantage. Take that money that you make doing that thing, right, that's bringing in money right now, invest it, save it, right, put it to work. And then you get to a point where you can make a choice and say, well, I'm no longer going to work for money because I've got so much money coming in. I got money coming in from here, money coming in from this investment, from that investment. That's a little sidetrack, but I want you to really start thinking about, don't wait until you find something that you love to do. Start doing things in a certain way now. Start doing it now. So you don't have to wait until you start singing. You can start doing things in a certain way at Walmart and then sing on the side. And then, when it's time for you to go full out into singing, you're not going in it being completely broke. You can go into it with some savings set aside. So, it's not so stressful and you can just concentrate on perfecting your gift and not worry about paying the bills. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does, right? So use your present business, Waddles continues, as a means of getting into a better one. That's basically what I just explained, right? When you use your present business, and again, your business can be your current job. You may be at a job that you're not necessarily crazy about, but when you start doing things in a certain way, you'll find your attitude change. When I decided to do things in a certain way at my current job, my attitude changed about my job. I stopped hating my job so much because I knew that I was building momentum to not only go into my own business full time, I have my own business now, but to go into it full time and then not just go into business, but actually have it be profitable, have it be something that takes care of me and my family, to have it in a position where I can hire people. All that happens by doing things in a certain way. So create and get a vision of the perfect business and hold on to that perfect vision, but act in your present business, right? So have a vision of the business that you want. Have a vision of the business that you desire, but act where you are now. Does that make sense? So envision where you want to be, but act where you are now. Can't really give you any better advice than that. So I want to thank you for taking this journey with me on day 10 of the Science of Getting Rich. This whole journey through the book. Our next podcast will have to do with efficient action. So talk some more about how to act in a certain way, and you won't want to miss that. So thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Don't forget to subscribe to the Under Construction Podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud. For more information on Guided Expressions courses and products, go to guidedexpressions.com/products.